Welcome back to Sweat and Iron, everybody. I am Graham, your host, and in this episode, I am bringing to you a special guest who was introduced to me by the one, the only, Matt Haft. If you haven't heard Matt Haft, he's been in a couple episodes. He's been in episode 1, and most recently, he was in either the episode before this one or the one before that one, where I compare him to Rocky Balboa out in the wilderness because that's what he's doing. But if you haven't checked out those episodes, check it out. Because in the first episode, we talk about a number of issues and concepts surrounding the world of physical trainers. When somebody wants to go to the gym and want to start working out, what do they look for? Physical trainer is one of the things that gets thrown them right away. In this episode, we touch on that. We touch on that quite a bit. We go all over the place in this episode because I am interviewing a man with 3 decades of experience in health and fitness. And his name is James Westphal. And I'm going to just rattle off a whole bunch of information regarding his background. And you'll understand why I went and asked all the questions I did in this interview, because the man is an encyclopedia when it comes to health and fitness and everything you want to know about, okay, what certification program should I go for, and what kind of trainer should I be looking for? What should I do for this? What should I do for that? And the man has amazing answers, and I enjoyed the interview so much. He was so down to earth and so easy to talk to. So thank you, James. Going into his background, here's what we got. As I said, 3 decades in the health and fitness industry. He received his MS in Exercise Science, Health Promotion, and Wellness Coaching from California University of Pennsylvania, and he has an undergraduate degree in Health and Human Performance from Bellevue University, where he's actually a professor in motor learning, strength and conditioning, exercise physiology, anatomy, kinesiology, and wellness. He also teaches at Methodist College in physical therapy assistance. That's the program he teaches. One of the big notes to take is he is one of the first 1,500 board-certified health and wellness coaches in the U.S., and he is a master trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and one of the founders of an organization he co-founded with 2 other guys who we talk about in the episode called Trainer EDU. Now, we're going to get into what Trainer EDU is and everything else about it, but it is regarding physical trainers, and if you guys hit a wall, if you decide you want to go into physical training and you're not sure where to go now, or maybe you want to go into physical training but you're not sure how to go about it, certifications, everything, he has provided to you a nice little niche to get your wisdom. And if there's one takeaway to get from this episode, everybody who wants to know anything and everything about health and fitness, there's no such thing as a dumb question. We say this so many times in this episode. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I know we joke around, there's no such thing as a dumb question, just dumb people. No, in this aspect, there really isn't, because when it comes to health and fitness and a lot of other things, if you're asking the question, chances are somebody's already asked that question too, which means you're on the same line as somebody else as far as learning. Somebody else was in your shoes once. And think of it this way. If you're thinking about these questions, chances are they're being brought up in this podcast, not just this episode, but maybe previous episodes. And that's what this podcast is all about. This podcast is all about paying it forward. So, people, without further ado, I give you Mr. James Westphal. Enjoy the show.
It's just little of cornfields and cows.
Cornfields and cows. I know exactly what that's like. I got a buddy that lives out near, well, he's in Marion, Iowa, so it's out there by Cedar Rapids.
Sure.
The whole way out there, just cornfields. Yeah. We're talking with James Westphal, who is a man with many hats, a man who has done a lot, seen a lot, been in a lot of places. James, I met you through a mutual friend, Mr. Matt Haft, who I don't know if you guys have actually connected in person or if this was just over the internet or what. What's your background with the Matt Haft?
Matt's a fellow NASM master trainer. Matt and I have chatted many times on instant message and through the master trainer page with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and had some great conversations.
I think that's one thing about Matt I have to give him tons of compliments on. He loves to hear himself talk. And I just like to, he was my very first trainer ever in a gym, and he became my really amazing, bestest friend in the whole wide world right now. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who could say the same thing about him, but I call it first. And he is one of the guys that I can go to who, if I have a problem with a workout, or if I start experiencing, well, I'm feeling it in this muscle, but I was trying to do this workout, I immediately go to him and I'm like, dude, what did I do wrong here? And he seems to, he I wouldn't say he has all the answers, but he has a great way of pinpointing.
Well, that's part of being a masterful coach. There's anybody, I always say anybody can tell anybody how to do something. Anybody can be a trainer, but it takes a masterful coach to get to have a vested interest in their clients, as well as be able to find the areas that client cues well on and fix their movement pattern problems.
Now, speaking of master trainer, you have quite you sent me over everything about you practically, and it's amazing to read all of this in, I mean, if you were to put it together, you could have it in like maybe 2 paragraphs here. You split it out pretty well. I mean, you've got over 3 decades in the health and fitness industry, basically, with an MS in exercise science, health promotion, wellness, coaching. You've got all this background in motor learning, strength and conditioning. You're a professor in all of that, and you're actually a professor in 2 different institutions.
Yes, sir.
I just want to know right off the bat, what was your inspiration to get into all of this? I mean, not that I want to know, where you grew up and all that, but I mean, at what point in your life did you decide, you know what, this sounds like something that I could totally do? Was it something that you woke up one day and thought of, or was it, tell me a little bit about it.
Really it wasn't. It was actually due to a very good friend of mine, Dr. Brenda Michaels at Bellevue University. So long story short, I didn't realize myself, I had always been involved during my life in some type of instruction or teaching. And as I was going through my undergrad program, I was standing up and I was engaging other students and enjoyed helping other students get the concept or word it in a way, put a spin on it in a way they could grasp the educational information, mm-hmm. and also show them how it needed to be applied. And Dr. Michaels recognized that along with some other people. And when I finished my master's, she offered me, she says, I'd really like to have you come over and teach in our undergrad program that you graduated from. And the rest is history. Have really worked on becoming a better educator, better facilitator. And that has begun to make its way around. And so I've been offered a position with another college. I actually had a third college contact me recently, but because of my schedule, I was unable, and they wanted me to teach their advanced strength and conditioning program within the athletic training program. So I just really enjoy teaching. It was recognized by others, and after I had sat on it and really realized what I had been doing all these years, it just came natural, and it's just it's become a passion.
It seems like this is an industry that has really been booming within about, I want to say, in my wheelhouse of working out and everything, everybody's talking about within the past. I've been going to the gym now for almost 3 years now, so it's really been taking off recently. When is this a big market then for people flocking to getting degrees in this? And is this a recent booming, or has this been going on for quite a while? When did people really start getting into the health promotion and wellness coaching and all these other different areas of focus for physical therapy?
So Graham, the industry has always gone through cycles. I think is just like every other industry. When I first started out, the boom was in about 1983 with Nautilus Fitness.
Yeah.
So it was a 24-hour Nautilus, high impact aerobics. That went through a cycle, died off. Things have started coming back up in the peak, and just like any other cycle, it has been, I think, with our chronic disease, with our baby boomers and the areas that we're furthering our research and technology in my thought, that is one of the reasons why it has increased and maintained its popularity, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. I also feel that has increased the amount of opportunities in education. So a lot of exercise science degrees, a lot of health and human performance, kinesiology, physical therapy degrees, because those are in a large degree of need. So I think these things have really increased a lot because of our population, our aging population, and the increase is still there. And as people in the younger generations are realizing that, hey, we need to become healthy, we need to be held accountable for our own health and wellness, I think it's going to continue to grow.
That's actually a very good point about the younger generation just all of a sudden realizing I need to be healthier. The more our government hands out these statistics on the fattest cities in the world, fattest cities in America, and the different population types and such, people like myself, you go ahead and have kids, and then you realize, wow, you look at a picture of yourself one day compared to, college, granted they're like 10, 15 years apart, whatever. And you go and you say, wow, I really have packed on quite a bit of weight there. I wonder what I could do about it. And not only that, but you also have the people that get the big shock experience when they finally go to the doctor, right? And the doctor says, well, your triglycerides are here, and this is here, and this is all pushing that blood pressure to here. Or you got the people who just can't move around very well because of their weight, right? And then it's people like you, it's people like Matt, and people like everybody else I've interviewed who specialize in health and fitness that are a great resource and training reach out to for breaking down those barriers and getting the knowledge.
And that is another reason why wellness coaching, health and wellness coaching, has become so popular. In NASM, they would be called behavior change certification. ACE, it's a health coach. Well Coaches, it's health and wellness coach. And that is one of the reasons I decided to move that route, because as we go back to what I previously stated about, you can tell anybody how to do something, but if they don't complete it, if they don't start eating better, if they don't start working out, if they don't get their sleep, nothing is going to change. And that goes to behavior change. So a masterful health coach helps people find that you step out of your position as a professional, as a trainer, and you move into a coaching position, and you find, for example, yourself, Graham, we would find your strengths, find things that are your triggers, find things that have worked for you in the past, and then you're the one that works with me to brainstorm and come up with the things you really feel passionate about or connected to. And using wellness coaching has been not only scientifically proven and research proven, but has shown to have a better connection with the client in maintaining their ability to stick with the program.
Yeah.
While also increasing their self-efficacy, the ability to feel connected and complete a program. And I think that is a big missing link in our current process of training people.
You can lead a horse to water, but they got to be the one that drinks it, right? And
Right.
It's almost like, see, in my job, I work in a lab, and I'm in the quality aspect, so I help out with a lot of projects, and I deal with a lot of process improvement people. To me, in a sense, you guys take on that role of process improvement for the individual. You help them do root cause analysis of what drives you to do this. And then you work with the individual on, well, how can we make this work? And then once you map it all out with that person, it is then up to them, like we give to the teams, it's up to the teams to make all the cogs start working together and making sure that you keep it all greased and everything, and something like that, right?
Correct. So, they always say if you're not assessing, you're guessing. So there's a science behind basically having yourself come in. I think you've seen this with Matt. He takes you through assessments. We look at movement assessments. We look at what you're eating. We look at your sleep patterns. We look at how much sleep you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
A coach gets to know, has a vested interest in their client. They get to know the client and know, because if I don't know anything about you, how can I help you?
Sure.
So, I need to know, well, what's his workday like? Is he stressed out beyond belief? Does working out help him? Does he realize that the working out is actually helping with this stress, and he needs to make that 30 minutes? And we can't tell you that. You have to come to that conclusion yourself. Mm-hmm. But that's where health and wellness coaching comes in. And unfortunately, not every trainer has this level of ability or education. We have a lot of trainers that are starting out that, quite frankly, they want to help a lot of people, but they just don't know where to go to get this education or how to apply their education in an application process. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the reasons why I worked with a couple of guys recently to form Trainer EDU. We're trying to help trainers become, better trainers, be able to actually take the information that they have learned or gathered or don't have, because if we can help other trainers become more proficient trainers, we can help more people. And I think the root of the whole thing is we really want to help people lead happy, healthy, productive, long lives. That is our passion. And I think the people that are really worried about making the buck are the ones that are for the short term, because if you're not there to help people, you're not going to make it in this industry.
You just brought up a very good point that I have always wanted to know more about. And I had an interview with one of the owners of chains of Anytime Fitness here, where he said there are some people that make great coaches, and then there's some people who think that they could make great coaches but just aren't there. And I believe that the coaches that think that they can do it but just aren't there are a combination of things. Either they just haven't learned enough, they don't know how to connect with the people, or as you said, they're there for the money and they're not really there for the entire outcome of the individual they're working with, right? They're not looking at all the benefits the other person can get out of them. They're just looking at, this is my time. My time is up now. I'm moving on.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the model that has been based in the fitness industry, especially with some of the big box gyms that really are pushing these trainers, they push them on a sales basis. Mm-hmm. So you go to some of the big box gyms and your performance is not based on how many people you help or the outcome of your client. Your performance is only based on the dollar of sales that you sold that month, and that is how you're rewarded. And most trainers coming out don't know sales. Many trainers just want to help people, and you get stuck in that awkward position of well, I've been told that I am only good if I make money. And
Nice.
it's not based on client outcome, which is completely reversed and, in my mind, just insane, because if you help people, the money will come. A very good friend of mine just recently made that statement on one of our summits, and it hit home. If you do people right, you help athletes, you help seniors, help somebody like yourself, that gets known, the money will come. That's second. You need to develop a rapport with your client, help them, and when that goes around, people will flock to you for you to train them because you care.
Is this where Trainer EDU comes in?
Yes. So some very good friends of mine. So we actually met through a big box gym, and this particular entity really works large around that model. And it's Alex Van Houten and Chris Vanderslice. Alex used to be a educator nationwide for this corporation, and Chris was a trainer there as well. They've both left, formed their own companies. Alex called us up one day and said, guys, we've got trainers all around us that are struggling. They're looking for reasonably priced education, continuing education units. They don't know how to apply what they've learned to application, and we need to help more people. And unless we take a stand and start providing what we call masterminds and a safe place, so they can come to our Facebook page, they can come to the website, they can ask questions, costs absolutely nothing. We help trainers live, but they do have the option of purchasing masterminds for like 8-week sessions where we do live Zoom sessions where we coach masterminds for 8 weeks for an hour every night per week, and they can ask questions. We can explain how to apply, how to do proper periodization, how to work on movement science. Do they understand exercise physiology? Where does that come in, and how do we help a person? Do they know how to utilize behavior change to help their client? We have a lot of trainers that complain all the time. My client couldn't stick to their protocols. They couldn't stick to the diet I gave them. Oh, they're horrible. And I hate hearing that, because really one trainer told me that one day, and I said, do you really think that's the client's fault? I said, or is that your fault? And they looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I said, did you do everything for your client that you possibly could? Or did you just tell them what to do and they didn't follow through? I said, that's not a coach. And really, that's not a trainer.
That's very, that makes a lot of sense. Thinking about that, actually. I mean, you initially want to pass the buck, right? Or depending on the model that you are brought into where you work, right? So
Correct.
The first thing that a lot of coaches think, that now I'm generalizing here, is if they were brought up on the I have to make sales model, the first thing I think of is got to be the client. I did everything possible. They didn't really think about, did I put in all the programming that was necessary? Did I reach out to the client and make sure they understood everything? And I will admit, though, that when it came to Mr. Matt Haft, there was a little bit of disconnect in our training in the beginning. I did not ask enough questions. So I misunderstood his training protocol he mapped out for me. And I think we were about 3 months into our training when I finally revealed this to him, and he just laughed at me. And he didn't stop laughing at me for a while, and he realized, that's okay. That's why you ask questions. Just ask them more frequently.
I tell people, if you have a question, there are no stupid questions.
No.
We're all learning. And I think also in this industry, the minute you think you know everything, you might as well hang it up. Many of the people I work with, so from Matt has his way of training people. I have my way. I actually include wellness coaching when I train somebody, because if I am unable to find out, Graham, what is your vision of yourself? If I could ask you to paint me the perfect vision of yourself, what would that picture look like? You're going, I've never thought of it that way before.
That's very true. I haven't.
So, Graham, what is the perfect picture of yourself? If you could sum it up in a short paragraph of what the perfect picture of yourself is in both physical and mental, what would that look like to you?
Perfect picture of myself would be I'm a decent collaborator with other individuals. I do a decent job of listening. I love to put forth all my effort into a project. I give it all in the gym when I'm done with the day at work. I just like to go to the gym and just sweat it out and just work out all the tension, and then at the end of the day, I like to spend time with the family. But in the end, that my end goal would always be I want to look my greatest. And that's not me saying I want to be a model or anything. I want to look good, to be a good example for the kids. I not only want to look good for the kids, to say, hey, my dad has always been in good shape, but I always want to be the guy that is able to excel in his career at the same time.
You want to be a good role model.
Mm-hmm.
So how often do you think of that?
Every day. Every day, at the end of the day, during the day, just constantly pops in my head.
Okay. Which is unique because most people don't have a good vision statement. And part of putting a vision statement together is part of being able to connect with your goals. Because then the client writes down SMART goals. We help them develop SMART goals because I always compare training to taking a trip or a roadmap. So if I'm going to take off and go to Florida tomorrow, I need to know how much money I need, how much gas, what route I'm going to take, if I'm going to need to drive straight through, stay the night, what town I'm going to, all to make that trip successful. Mm-hmm. So if you're on a fitness goal or a fitness program, I need to know where I'm starting. I need to know what my main goal is, how I'm going to get there. What's the process? Do I need to make sure that, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m., I'm going to get up and drink an 8-ounce glass of water. Every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm going to work out for 30 minutes doing a circuit workout with Matt. Mm-hmm. You're developing SMART goals, and that helps you make it to that vision. That is a plan. Trying to reach your fitness goals without a plan is just like taking that trip without a plan. You might run out of money. You might run out of gas. You may end up in the wrong town. You may hit road detours. That all takes time, money, and effort and frustration. And by having a proper plan, we can avoid a lot of those things and help streamline the process for the client.
You mentioned detours. It's almost like if you have the plan, there could be, life happens. So if you have your plan, AKA your routine for the week, right? You're going along, you're going to hit construction, whatever on your roadmap. You can take detours as long as it's, you've got on your planned route, right, James? I mean, it'd be more like, okay, for the last 4 to 6 weeks, I've been doing the same workout. How about I'm going to take a little detour and change this chest exercise to this other chest exercise? Or I'm tired. This sounds really silly, I know, but for me, I eat a lot of chicken. Everybody gives me crap about it at work. They're like, oh my gosh, you're having chicken again. I have chicken for lunch almost every day. So maybe instead of chicken today, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to have, oh my gosh, look everybody, it's turkey.
I put that into, I don't really put that into the whole roadblock or detour thing. I put that into your programming. I put more like roadblocks and detours are in, you know what? I didn't get my 3 workouts in this week. I only got 2.
Oh.
I ate that extra piece of cake instead of sticking to that one piece of cake this week. What did I learn from that experience, and why did that happen?
Okay.
Because really, if you've got a meal plan or you've got a workout, periodization, every 6 to 8 weeks, your workout should be changing up anyways, and you're going to have different workouts, maybe alternating every 2 weeks. And your food, man, you need to be able to have different things for food. You must really, really like chicken. I can only eat chicken for so long before I start growing feathers. Um, I love to keep it fresh because I think that is another main point that you bring up here is sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes on these cookie cutter programs and diets, and you are a unique individual. Your DNA is completely different from the person next to you, and your body responds to things completely different from the other person. So if you go on and start trying to do these PX90 workouts and all these other workouts that are out there that are cookie cutter workouts, is that the best thing for Graham? Is that what works for you? Because that may work for Steve or Matt or Joel, but you know what? That doesn't work for Graham. Graham needs to have a completely different workout. I see these girls on these treadmills, for example, they are running their butt off for an hour.
Literally, they run their butt off. There's like no butt when they're done.
Well, they try to, but there's a lot of them that can't make that transition. They're in such a high load environment,
Mm-hmm.
they don't realize that they're not burning any fat. All they're doing is burning carbohydrates.
Uh-huh.
So they get frustrated. I've been running every day on the treadmill. I'm doing this. Well, you're not doing the right workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And they think they're doing the right thing, but they get frustrated and then they quit working out.
Yeah, I tend to see that a lot with people who join the gym after the first of the year. And then you just slowly see them sputter out. You don't see them back at the gym after maybe a month, 2 months. I think 3 months maybe, but usually it's within the first couple months. Those people, you just see them pop up and then they disappear. And they usually are the people that are not in shape, that you know why they joined the gym. It's because they wanted to get in shape. But then more than likely they did exactly what you said. It wasn't working for them, so they said, this is stupid.
Right. And you have a lot of people that not only don't have the right workouts, they don't have the right foods, but they get frustrated with themselves. And it always amazed me that people would think a $30 or $40 an hour trainer, which I don't do by the hour, I do packages, but people that buy an 8 to 10 week package, they think it's very expensive, but yet I will see them go out and spend $20 or $30 in popcorn and stuff at the movie theater, splurge on other things that really, if they just cut one of those items out, they could actually get a masterful coach and make a big change in their lives so they would feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think a lot of these people would really benefit if they would seek the help of a professional coach and get rid of the frustration. And it's disheartening sometimes to see that. I see so many people doing that, and I wish I could help more, but you can only help so many people at once. And that's where our training industry needs to start branching out and working on this behavior change aspect.
Okay, James, let's go back to talking about people. We're all unique. It's very true. We are all unique. Yes, you might occasionally come across somebody that diet may still work on this other person type thing. There's a lot of fad diets out there. I don't want to go down the let's talk about fad diet road. Instead, what I want to do is just touch just briefly on what we were just talking about, working on the treadmill, doing this, it's not working. For people who are having a difficult time with this, what's the best option for them? Should they really be just trying out different things, or should they be seeking out someone like you? I mean, how would they know how to find someone like you? Because you're like the encyclopedia when it comes to this stuff, because you have so much experience. So in your expert opinion, what guidance for these people would you give if they're looking for a source of information?
I would look for a trainer first that's getting results with other people. You want to look for a trainer that is providing clients with change. And you need to look around and ask questions. I think that's number one in finding a trainer, because that is a very difficult area for the general public to find is, well, who do I go to for this? You've got all these, YouTube trainers, you've got Instagram trainers. You know, if I don't have six-pack abs, I'm not a good trainer. You have all the Instagram models, and don't get me wrong, I don't think they're all this way, but there's an awful lot of them that all they're doing is regurgitating what their coach told them to do in a video. And so people are misled many times because we're kind of an unregulated industry. We don't have licensure until you get to athletic trainers or physical therapists or physical therapy assistants. So you really need to find somebody that is providing results to their people. And that's by word of mouth, asking around, going to the gyms, and just talking to people and listening to their story. You can also, also ask questions about what their experience and background is. Find out, what their education is, how long they've been training, and ask for references, just like you would for a construction job or anything else. If they can't provide you with references, walk away. As far as the next step is concerned, so for myself, we use a indirect cardio respiratory analysis. So we use ergospirometry, or measuring VO2 and CO2 gas exchange. So I think everybody's seen that, you go on a metabolic cart and they put the big mask on you and you run on a treadmill and they measure a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. So for myself, I started using that as an additional assessment tool to better assess where my clients are, what they need for calories for their own unique body, where they are at, if they're burning more carbs and fats or vice versa, and where their cardiorespiratory fitness lies, because that tool alone gives the client a lot of information. And a good coach will also take that information and say, okay, Graham, at rest, you're burning 60% carbohydrates and 40% or whatever in fats. And we really want you at rest to be burning more fats than carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. And as you progress in your cardiovascular fitness, we would like you to be able to maintain burning some fats for a little bit longer period of time. And then I can look at your heart rate and your exertion rate on the treadmill, and I can say, you know what, this is the area where you're burning primarily fats. We're still going to work up in those higher heart rate zones, but here's where I want you working out right now for the majority of your workouts on these days, and then on the other days I want you working in this area. So not only can I promote cardiovascular health, but now we know where you're more efficient on that treadmill. So it might just be a fast walk. It may not even be a jog.
Sure.
I may say, you know what, all these OR places you've been going to that are doing all these heart rate classes, they're bad for you. All you're doing is burning carbohydrates. We need to slow you down. And it's hard to tell somebody they need to slow down to get better. Mm-hmm. And so learning how to do all that and manipulate those things comes from the type of assessments that trainers will do for somebody.
Now, Matt told me that are you still an ambassador for MyPNOE?
I am. I've kind of stepped away from it a little bit because the one thing I hate to do is I hate to have an organization try to tell me what I should be doing or how I should be doing it based on an endorsement.
Okay.
So one thing PNOE is a great device, and they've got some great guys there. I think they have some great equipment, and I still endorse that fact. Mm-hmm. However, I really don't promote them as much as I used to, because I like to make sure that I can maintain my direction and what I'm doing with my clients, and I don't like that influenced by outside sources.
I see. But if you did use them, they are the what you were talking about, the whole mask measuring metabolic rate and whatnot.
They are the gold standard right now for mobile. So you used to have to go to a exercise physiology lab and be tied to a cart in order to do this type of assessment.
Wow.
It's completely portable now. I have a little device that It's like a little backpack. It goes on. You wear the mask. You can be doing CrossFit with it. You can be rowing with it. You can be doing your standard workouts with it, wherever you are at, rock climbing, whatever it might be, and I can assess your metabolic efficiency.
You know, I've always been interested. What's the maintenance on those things like? It seems like everywhere you go, it always seems like, I don't know what the price is to get one of those done on yourself, but I always felt like you get charged an arm and a leg to get all these tests done. Is that because of maintenance done on the instruments, or what? What's usually the push behind the high cost of testing?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what you consider high cost. For like my clients, I do everything for $199.
Okay.
And they get all the information, and they also get a consult with myself. So really, that's not too much different or too much higher than a couple training sessions.
Sure. Yeah, that's not bad.
No. So when we look at the cost, we do have to look at the cost of the unit or the equipment that we're using, regardless. So, when people pay me as a trainer and they come and work with me, I have education and continuing education I have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
I have equipment expenses. So we look at, that machine that you're working out on, what did that cost me and what's my payback period? Just like this cardiometabolic device, maintenance is not too bad, but you still have maintenance cost. You still have expendables. So I use a filter, a biological filter on the end of that. So as people are breathing in and out, it doesn't make it into the device. So I can protect each individual, even though we clean those every time they're on somebody. I can still protect the inside of the device from bacteria and organisms.
Sure, smart.
Yeah, so you have that cost. You have the cost of sitting down, and I have to sit behind the computer, and we have to analyze all that data.
People don't think about that.
Yeah, so I've got an hour of sitting down and analyzing the data and making recommendations. So, really, by the time you're done, you've paid $199, and I've got probably two and a half hours into it.
So in reality, the computer isn't really giving you the answer after you do the test. It just spits out all these figures and readings, and then do you go through a flow sheet? Is there an algorithm you use? What sort of thing do you follow with this data to present to a client? Hey, this works. Now, I'm not asking for like your golden, ticket for how you operate, but I mean,
no, I'm willing to share that with any trainer because there is no golden ticket. The Pinoy device, there's several options you can have. So it puts up data to the cloud, and the algorithms show up, and it shows you various screens that show you all the information that was gathered. Mm-hmm. Now, as you become more proficient, and depending on your education, you know how to read that data. You know what that data means. You also have the option of working with the people at Pinoy. So if I really wanted to, I could start paying them a fee, and their professionals would read the data for me and spit out a test and throw it back to me.
Sure. Okay.
So it works well for both situations. It works well for trainers that are less experienced and don't have the education and the expertise, but it also works for the more advanced trainers and doctors. A lot of doctors are using this to better train clients on a much, much higher level. So, I have both options. I really like to sit down and look at the data myself. Now, if I'm extremely busy, I will tell you, sometimes I holler at the guys at Pinoy and I say, hey, I've got 6 tests here. Would you go ahead and look over these tests for me and analyze them? Then they send the information back. I look at it. If I'm in 100% agreement, sign off on it, and then I sit down with the client and explain to them what their data is, what it means, and how they should move forward.
I gotcha. That sounds really fun, actually, to do that. I mean,
it is a blast, especially if you like to geek out.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking about, because I said I'm a quality guy. I'm all about looking at numbers, graphs. I totally tell every new employee that comes to the hospital, I'm like, I love graphs. You give me a graph, I could look at it and figure out how can I make this graph better. So if I were to look at your data, I'd be like, oh, this is so cool.
I'll have to send you over. I'll send you over one of my tests.
Oh yeah,
sample test and let you peek at it. I think you'd enjoy it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
One of the things that you sent over that I read that I would love to hear about, whether you got cool stories. I'm sure you're loaded with stories, but former water rescue specialist.
Okay.
What? That sounds very broad to me. What specifically? A lifeguard? Did you? Or we're talking about? Were you on a ship? Were you on a helicopter? Where were you? What did you do?
So I was on Lewis Township's water rescue team as a diver. When we have the Missouri River very close by, we have a lot of lakes, rock quarries, things of that nature, and so we would get emergency calls. Somebody has gone under in the river, and the first thing we do is we hit the river, throw our gear on, and go in after them. So that could be anything from rescuing somebody from a boat that's sinking to throwing my gear on, going down on the line, and recovering somebody's unfortunate demise.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because so when you're going in there, you don't necessarily, well, I mean, I guess, do you not always know what the outcome's going to be then going in?
You don't always know in the lakes and rock quarries, depending on the time that has expired.
Gotcha.
And how fast we get there. In the rivers, you pretty much know most of the times. By the time we get on scene, they've been gone. The current in the rivers, it's basically braille diving. You can't see anything. You're down there basically using your hands and crawling along the bottom looking for somebody. It's usually a recovery operation.
Okay, recovery meaning the body, and that's it.
Yeah, you're looking for the body, recovering the body, and bringing that person up.
You got any interesting stories about maybe everybody wants to hear a happy one. I doubt anybody wants to hear about a sad one, but do you have anyone where took a certain amount of time to find somebody and everything wound up being okay, but it was a close call type thing?
Oh, well, I've got two stories, not exactly that. I've got a couple that come to mind. So one situation involved, we had to go out and look for a stolen vehicle. Supposedly this person had drove it off and put it into a lake to collect insurance money.
Oh, that sounds like a winning idea.
Yeah, so you would think that they had thought these things out. So we're swimming along, and I didn't find it. I got hooked up on somebody that had sunk a picnic table. I came up, my buddy went in afterwards, and he's swimming along, and I hear him on the microphone goes, wait, I think I found it. I go, what? He goes, I just swam in through the window. So we get this, we put the hook around the back of it, we pull this truck out. They had literally just rolled it off the boat dock. And it was in about 10 feet of water, half silted in. And you bring it up, the keys are still in the ignition, and all this personal property is still in the back of the pickup.
Okay.
Yeah, everything was in there, including his clothes and things like that he had packed away to move. But it was kind of hilarious when you saw how they did that. The other one was just by chance. I was actually at a park camping, and just got back in from scuba diving, had all my gear off, and my son ran up to me and says, Dad, he says, I think there's a kid in the water across over here on the lake. And I looked over and said, no, I said, this is probably just some kids messing around or a big grass carp. And he looks over and he goes, no, Dad. He said, you need to look again. He says, I think there is a kid in the water. And I looked over and I see this little hand flopping in the water, and this is on a really steep embankment. So just reaction, I jumped in the water. I swam across the canal, ended up pulling a 2-year-old toddler from the water that had fallen down an embankment, and had been drowning. Pulled him out, flipped him over, got the water out of him, got him back up. We were very fortunate. We had a pediatrician that was in the camp. We had a couple nurses, a couple fire guys, and by the time I hit the campground, they had the ambulance waiting and were ready to take in this kid, and he did very well. He lived, and it was very rewarding.
Wow. That is inspiring to hear. That really gets your emotions going when you hear a story like that. I mean, not that I'm all sappy and whatnot, but I mean, I hear something like that and I'm just like, 'cause I think it's mostly because I do have kids.
Yeah.
I instantly think, oh my God, if that was my kids, I'd like to have a guy like you around the campsite.
What was amazing is the amount of people that were there that were no different. They were willing to jump in the water. Mm-hmm. They were willing to help. It was really cool to see on that level how many good people are still out there.
Yeah. 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 So how long ago was that?
That was back in 2012.
2012. Okay. So not too long ago, 7 years. Wow, man. That's impressive. So do you by any chance stay in contact with that kid, or was it just, I've always wondered, because you'd be considered a first-time responder, right? Or, well, yeah, yes, no?
Well, yeah, we were kind of first responders. They had closed our water rescue team down in 2011.
Okay.
And so we had been closed down, so I was no longer a first responder. Okay. I was just considered a citizen with some skills that I knew. So,
but your instinct kicked in. You were just
instincts kick in once you've been in those situations. It's just automatic. But not any longer.
Okay, I see. Wow, that's pretty cool, though.
It's really cool to see that. I don't keep in touch with them anymore. They were in the area. I think they've since moved on. Mm-hmm. But it's weird because every time I go to that campground, even for the last 5 years, it's like, hey, there's that guy that jumped in the water and got that kid, and I'm like, right, James, I'm not that guy. I am just like you. Let's just but it's even the camp people who know you, they're always it's kind of weird. I don't know.
It's gotta be weird. Do you still go to that campground?
Oh, my family loves that campground. We've gone there for years. So we enjoy fishing and everything. So
then when you get to that lake, do you ever have those moments where you just look at the lake and just think about it? Because
oh yeah. Yeah, my wife actually, it was kind of interesting. My kids and I were out there fishing on this canal, and my wife took a picture because I have an 11 and 14-year-old at the time. I think they were around 5 and 8 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so we're fishing in the morning, and you can kind of see the water and the trees. My wife took a picture of the three of us fishing together in a panoramic view, and put a really cool quote up and gave that to me on Father's Day. Mm-hmm. And so I get to look at that picture not only in my living room, but yeah, I go to that area, and it comes to mind, every time I'm out there.
That's pretty cool to have. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So another thing that so you teach at a college for the physical therapy assistant program at Methodist College. This I found fascinating because I recently interviewed a friend of my wife's. My wife went to college with, and her friend wound up being a physical therapist. And
nice.
When I interviewed her, she was talking about physical therapy assistants. What exactly is involved in becoming a physical therapy assistant rather than a physical therapist?
Well, several years of schooling, obviously. So the physical therapy assistant program is an associate's degree.
All right.
Where they have changed the physical therapist to a doctoral program. Mm-hmm. similar to what they're doing in all the programs. So occupational therapist is currently a master's. They're going to move that to a doctorate. They're talking about moving the physical therapy assistant program from an associate's to a bachelor's in the near future.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so right now it's probably a 14-month to 16-month program. Some programs are 24 months. You come out with an associate's degree, there is a lot of internship, externship, hands-on practicum that you have to complete with that. So while you have some basic classes, you need to know anatomy, physiology, assessments, so you need to know SOAP. Basically, how to assess a client. You need to be able to move the joints safely, how to hold the leg, how to hold the arms if they've had a rotator cuff tear, if you're rehabbing an ACL, those different things. So you learn those skills as a physical therapy assistant, and hopefully you come out with the proper education, with that, the application, and be able to go in and work underneath a physical therapist.
Yeah, I was thinking a physical therapy assistant, in my mind, since I work in the lab, I got to deal with nurses and doctors all the time. You've got physician assistants. You've got PCTs, who are basically the same thing as having a certified nursing assistant, stuff like that. I mean, they're comparable, but is that along the same lines? Basically, the physical therapist tells the physical therapy assistant what to do with the patient?
Correct. So the physical therapy assistant always works underneath a physical therapist. So what they would do is they have a protocol that the physical therapist particularly wants to do with that patient. Now, the PT a lot of times will still see that patient, but the assistant a lot of times will be the one icing the knees, stretching the client out, might be doing some exercises with the rotator cuff or with the knee, and then be overseen, of course, by the physical therapist.
Okay. All right. So physical therapy assistant would actually...
And that's a licensed position within your state.
I'm thinking that physical therapy assistant, I mean, even physical therapist, that would actually be a great tangent for someone, in my mind, who is a master trainer or something like that wants to branch out into and go beyond what they're doing. I don't know. It would be somebody that would be like a great fit in my mind, seeing a person go from that to that, because they've already got the knowledge base of all the mechanics and whatnot already, and then they just be taking the schooling to another level. But that's just
I would probably go in. I would say physical therapy assistant, physical therapist, occupational therapist, or athletic trainer. The unique thing about athletic trainers is athletic trainers can work underneath both a physical therapist and a doctor, and they can also assess injuries where a PTA cannot. And an athletic trainer can also do the movements and treat the injury. So you can work underneath, let's say, a orthopedic surgeon. He says, hey, I really want you to do this protocol and rehab them, follow up with me each week on their progress. The athletic trainer can take that athlete from, let's say, an ACL transplant and go through the procedures, ice it, treat it, and they don't have to be monitored directly in the same building with that particular person.
Wow.
So there's some give and take there. There's been a lot of athletic trainers take physical therapy assistant jobs because of that, with a lot of hospitals that are moving out. That is, I believe, another reason why they're moving the level up of the ATC and the ETAs and whatnot. But I think those are all good programs or good expansions from becoming either a master trainer or strength and conditioning coach, or whatever it is with your education, if you want to move into that world. Some people don't. They like the freedom of being self-employed or working for another gym with a bunch of people.
It just seems to me that when it comes to fitness and industry, or the fitness and industry, health and fitness industry, there really is no stopping and learning. You're always learning something new, and there's always something to go into next. Like, there's always room for growth. I mean, you become a trainer at a gym. That's nice. What can you do beyond that? You can go in, get schooled in becoming a master trainer. You could work your way up to that. And then once you get that, if you feel that you really want to go and get a degree to become working in the hospital for this, there's that. And then there's the, you said you could be an athletic trainer, you could do that. It just seems to me that there's just an endless amount of possibilities out there for somebody who wants to be in the health and fitness industry.
There is. It really depends on the pathway you enjoy and how you want to be regulated. I've got into this many, many times with other trainers because we're a non-regulated industry. So an athletic trainer, a physical therapist, a physical therapy assistant, an occupational therapist, a nutritionist, dietitian, those are all educations that can go and sit for an exam and become licensed to expand on their practice and make more money.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, personal training industry is not a licensed position. So many times doctors, physical therapists and things, unless you know them and they know you know your stuff, you're kind of frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought, and it's a double-edged sword. I've always thought it'd be nice to have licensure within the personal training industry. But there's pros and cons to that. The pros is it helps weed out the people that are not there for the right reasons, but it does not always necessarily guarantee a quality personal trainer, even if you're licensed, because we have bad doctors, we have bad physical therapists, we have bad nurses. Anybody can get the licensure, but are they really good at applying it, and are they really good at helping people? So in short, we really think the whole thing is educating people about helping people and letting them become more comfortable and letting them be able to support themselves. And that has been the biggest thing when we go back to, like we were talking earlier about big box gyms and driving the dollar and all those things. I think everybody in the end really wants to help people, but they need to feed their families as well. And I think the career path many times, if you go over to, let's say, a hospital and you want to be maybe you want to be an exercise physiologist, that also falls within this realm. That's not a licensed position. It's certified, but it is recognized by the hospitals depending on where you go.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can work within the hospital situation, or you can work on your own outside of the hospital and work within the medical community or rehab community and be respected. You can go into cardiac rehab. So all kinds of areas and all kinds of interests that you can expand on in this. It really just depends on, do I want to work in a brick and mortar place and only see the sun once in a while, or do I want to be working outside with athletes in the fresh air every day?
So now I want to pick your brain on, since you said that being a personal trainer is not a licensed area, which I've covered in previous interviews. I believe I covered it in my very first interview with Matt. I called him out on this, put him on the spot, I think, and I said, well, what certification is the best certification? Because there's so many out there, right? Because there's no licensing. So everybody and their brother pretty much has a certification saying, you could be certified personal trainer through us. Just go here. Now, I know that you told me that you're a master trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. In fact, you are one of the first 1,500 board certified health and wellness coaches in the U.S.
Yeah.
Is there a particular organization you feel strongly about? I'm not talking about bashing anybody. I'd rather hear, is there one organization that could be better for individuals than others, or is that another one where it depends on what they want to do?
Well, it depends on what they want to do, but it also depends. I mean, let's put it this way. Anybody can pass a written exam if you study, and, there's a lot of prep classes out there, study guides, things like that. Anybody can memorize a bunch of material and pass an exam. So a written exam sometimes is a poor way of testing an individual. So you've got ACE, which has been there for a long time. You've got NASM. You've got the NSCA, National Strength and Conditioning Association. You got ACSM, American Academy of Sports Medicine. Those are kind of the four mains. You've got ISA. They're out there. And there's a bunch more. those are the five that come to my mind. So NASM and NSCA are probably a little bit more sports-based, whereas ACE and ACSM tend to be a little more medically based.
Mm-hmm.
Not a great deal, but you'll see those emphasis on their programs. Now, depending on what you want for a cert, so NASM has one, or actually two, what we call NCCA, nationally recognized certifications. You've got a couple agencies out there that do proctored exams, for example, which is DECA and NCCA. They basically have proctored exams. You go sit in the airport, and then you're taking a timed proctored exam or open book. So NASM has two. That's the personal trainer, and then they have the group exercise cert. ACE has four. They have a health coach, which is recognized by the consortium of health and wellness coaches. They have a personal trainer. They have a group fitness trainer, and then they have I don't quote me on this, but I believe it's called the medical exercise specialist.
Okay.
Then you've got the NSCA. NSCA has a couple. They have a National Strength and Conditioning, the CSCS course, which is Strength and Conditioning Specialist. They also have a Special Populations Specialist. And then they have a tactical. Then you move over to ACSM, which has a personal trainer. They have an exercise physiologist cert. They have a clinical exercise physiologist cert, and I think one over. So yeah, there are different areas you want to go, and then of course all have continuing education units. They have non-cert like the corrective exercise specialist, performance enhancement specialist with NASM, senior fitness specialist, youth. So there's all kinds of other little specialization you can do to learn. So that's kind of where the industry is as far as like certification's concerned. The problem is if it's not a proctored exam and it's not NCCA or DECA recognized, distance education for learning, a lot of the places that people want to go and work. So let's say I'm filling out a job application for a hospital and they want to know my license or certifications, and there's usually a drop-down box. If your organization's certification is not recognized, it will not be in that drop-down box, and so you fall underneath a lot of other people that have more recognized certifications, if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay, so now the person that is a personal trainer, with all these different letters they put behind their name, some of those may be viable. Some of them may not be as widely recognized. So that's where it goes into where do you want to work. If you want to work in a box gym, it's not near as important because you can get the credentials and you can get the experience. If you want to go work for like a healthcare organization, you've got to make sure that you have, or you want to go to work for a college, you want to make sure you have those NCCA or DECA recognized credentials, because the other certifications you get are basically worthless to them.
Okay.
Does that kind of answer some of the question?
It does. It does. And it leaves a lot for an individual to really think about, because then they could take that, they can go online, research it more, and then that helps them pinpoint, okay, well, based upon what I just heard in this episode, what can I do with that? Where do I want to go with that? Where would it take me?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So let's say I've got a kid at the college. He's going through they're going through the fitness management course, which is a course I've written for Bellevue University. They're required to do that to get their degree. So it's a last course. It's their course based around the NSCA CSCS. And the reason we did this is to give them a pre-concentration area. So if they want to go to be a strength and conditioning coach at the college or pro level, they have to have that.
Okay.
Now, if I was to say, you know what, if I was to go to Methodist College for the PTAs, and I said, you know what, a corrective exercise specialty would be nice for you, or a functional movement screen would be great for you, but guess what? It's not recognized. It's not a proctored exam, or it's not this or not that. is that going to add any value to your education? And I would say no. So the best thing for them might be, well, why don't you get a certified personal trainer and learn more about how people train, how to do exercises for people, and add to your education that way. So there's certain certifications that I would recommend for certain people based on their pathway and where they want to move to, and I would say steer away from other certifications because you're paying for something that doesn't add value to your knowledge base.
Right. It's not only spending your time on stuff that is not necessary, but you're also prone to, I shouldn't say prone, but you will most likely throw money away for something that will not serve your purpose down the road.
Yeah, and I hate to say you throw money away only because, every certification, even though it's not recognized, has its value point. Okay, so from a continuing education standpoint, I think a lot of them have value. I just think that people really need to think about their main certifications, as their base before they start, like a lot of certified personal trainers will spend a bunch on all these other specialties when maybe they need to concentrate on maybe going and taking a pathophysiology class at the college, or going and doing an internship with a strength and conditioning coach and working on that aspect more than doing something that they could spend their money more wisely on.
I gotcha. That's actually that's a good way of putting it, actually. You have a nice way of taking something that could be strewed as negative and sort of spinning it so it's sort of neutral but sort of positive at the same time. I think that's a nice way of wordsmithing. I mean, 3 decades of experience will do that, I guess.
I really think that everything has its point in time. And when we get to that, when I look at new trainers and I see what they're fighting for, trying to make a dollar, trying to help people, how they're struggling to pay their bills, and then I see them go out and get drug into programs that want them to spend the extra dollar for this, and they promise all these things, and then the promises fall short. I hate to see those things happen to good trainers or trainers that are upcoming in the industry. And again, that is one of the reasons why we put together what we put together with Trainer EDU. We want to help those trainers, and we really think that, helping people get to where they need to go as an educator. I'm constantly dealing with college kids that are going, I love this, but where do I go from here? I've been told so many things, and they think that they're going to be a strength coach and make some good money, where, a strength coach on the average at college level makes about $54,000 a year, and they're usually moving around and never in the organization for more than 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you better be young and single or have an extremely understanding wife and kids.
Yeah, that's one of the things I strived for when I was getting married, was a woman who would definitely understand me, because there takes a lot of understanding with me. So,
hey, they say behind every great man is even a better woman.
Oh, well, she's actually super mom, super woman.
Yeah.
So I lucked out a lot there. But James, because I'm at the end here, I was wondering if people wanted to reach out and find you for more information, is there a good way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, actually, look us up on Facebook at Trainer EDU. I'm one of the moderators on there, and you can reach me on Trainer EDU. You can message me and get a hold of me right there.
Okay, Trainer EDU. It sounds very fascinating. It's hard for me to put myself in somebody else's shoes sometimes when it's not my wheelhouse, but I could imagine that if I was a trainer, after hearing some of the information you gave out, especially the fact that you have free information available through Trainer EDU, you don't necessarily have to pay. There is some free stuff.
So the Facebook page and our website. So the Facebook page, basically, you become a member. We ask you to fill out some information. How long you've been training, what's your passion, what do you want to learn from the group? And then we look over your information to make sure that you're not there for all the wrong reasons. And we approve your membership, and you come on. It doesn't cost anything. And we have people on there from doctors, from chiropractors, physical therapists, pediatrician. I mean, we have all realms of people in this group. I think we're sitting between 400 and 500 members right now on this new group. And you can come and ask questions. Type in a question, say, hey, I'm a new trainer. What's the best insurance, or where can I find insurance? Or I'm a new trainer. I'm looking for software to train. What do you guys use? A lot of the same questions get answered on other pages, but we like to pride ourselves in having years and years of experience and having people that are solid, reputable, and you're not hearing from another new trainer that thinks that his software might be the best, or how do I start up a business? Should I incorporate first? Do I work as a sole proprietor? I mean, we cover the whole gambit. So you can ask a question on there anytime, and it doesn't cost a thing.
And you said what I love to tell people all the time. I get asked at work, I'm, new employees, whatever. Hey, I got a really dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb or stupid question. There really isn't, because chances are, if you're asking that question, I always tell them, if you're asking this question, either I asked this question or somebody else asked this question at some point. Somebody has asked that question before. It's not dumb.
No. And if you had to ask it twice, I'm the one that probably didn't explain it properly.
That's actually a good point right there. Never thought about that either. But yeah, I should consider that.
Yeah. So Graham, the whole idea with this is to provide a safe place, a reputable place with quality, scientifically backed information to help trainers and help people. The more trainers we help, the more people we help.
That's a great outlook. That really is. It's very, very proactive too.
I appreciate that.
So, James, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Ever since I texted you, after I texted you as soon as Matt gave me your number, you have been so amazing, so informative, so helpful with everything I've asked, prepping for this interview. So, thanks. James, I really appreciate all the time you've taken to talk to me and prep for this interview. So,
hey, Grant, this was a great pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity to sit here and have the time with you to be able to chat and hopefully reach out to more people and maybe make another difference in the world and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Would you be open to possibly coming back for another interview? Maybe I could have you and Matt on at the same time, or maybe I could have a different topic.
Yeah, anytime. I would really enjoy it. This has been a lot of fun, and any way we can help would be great.
Fantastic. Well, for the rest of you guys out there, you keep setting your goals and you keep at it.